A very good day to all of you guys, and welcome to yet another virtual suggested answer discussion session for our special paper practice series. Today we are discussing the suggested answers for the fifth paper. The fifth paper that you guys have attempted fully focused on Unit 2 of the syllabus, Market Economics. So all four main chapters of market economics was covered in the paper with 15 multiple choice questions and 3 structured essay type questions. So we have touched on demand analysis, supply analysis, then elasticity, demand and supply elasticity, then equilibrium and economic surplus. Those all four of those main chapters and areas we have covered in that paper. Of course, more weightage is given for certain areas than others, but in general, I think you guys would have experienced when you attempted the paper that most things have been touched in the paper or covered by the questions, right? So as always, let's start with the 15 multiple choice questions and then do a quick outline of the very complete suggested answers that have been provided to you guys as a PDF, right? So I'm going to start off with the MCQ paper, right? And then we'll progress to part B. So question 1, right? Question 1, the substitution effect is the change in quantity demanded that occurs as a result of. Substitution effect is one of the sub-effects we use to explain, justify, or prove the law of demand, especially with regards to a normal good or in general, a law of demand, along with income effect. So the substitution and income effect together create the price effect. Okay, right. Then the first option says a change in relative price with other things remain constant. Actually, the first answer itself, it's a really correct statement, because or correct point to make there, because substitution effect is where we change our quantity demanded for a given product because either substitute good, the price of a substitute good, which does not change, only the price of the product under consideration changes. When the price of the product concerned changes, when you compare the new price of the product concerned, the higher or lower price, with the substitute products, we realize either the product under consideration is relatively cheap or relatively expensive, that is relative price changes, accordingly our quantity demanded changes. So the first answer, it's very accurate in that sense. Change in absolute price, no, that's wrong. Change in relative price when money income held constant. In the second answer, even the real income held constant is wrong, because when price changes, real income also changes. A change in real income when relative price are held constant, no, that's not correct. That's not about substitution effect. A change in money income when the relative price remains unchanged, that is basically not substitution nor income effect. Correct answer, we will settle with number 1. Okay, correct answer would be the first answer, first option, right? Question number 2, which of the following is held constant when a demand function is shifting? If a demand curve is shifting, demand function is shifting, which of the following is held constant? Consumers' money income, no. Consumers' taste and preferences, no. Because a shift of the demand function or demand curve is actually caused by other factors changing. What is held constant is the price. Price of the good itself should be the correct answer. Oh, sorry. Price of the good itself should be the correct answer. The price of substitutes, no. Yeah, correct answer is number 3. Okay. the market supply curve for question number 3, market supply curve for some good or service would shift to the left when? Shift to the left meaning we are basically talking about leftward shift is a decrease in supply. Yes. So what would cause a decreasing supply? Essentially, other factors have to change. When the price of the product changes, it does not shift the supply curve. So any answer that says the price of the product is incorrect, right? So yeah, so good. There are no answers that say price of the product. So that is completely taken off. Then technology improves? No, because supply will increase and shift to the right. The price of inputs fall, cost of production will decrease and supply will increase, shift to the right. The price of inputs increase, yes, cost of production will increase and shift to the left. That should be the correct answer. The technology improves, the price of inputs fall. Then we can't say, we definitely the supply will increase because two reasons are causing an increase in supply there. And number 3, okay, I've read it in a different order. More suppliers enter the industry. More suppliers enter the industry. If more suppliers enter the industry, number of sellers increase and supply increases. Rightward shift. Correct answer number 2. Correct answer number 2. Assume the demand for soft drinks is relatively price inelastic. Demand for soft drinks is relatively price inelastic. An increase in the supply of soft drinks will result in which of the following? What will happen if the price of soft drinks increase? Increase in the supply of soft drinks, what will happen? Right? Basically, a decrease in price leading to increase in total. Now, the demand is relatively elastic. If the demand is elastic, the relationship between a change in price and change in total revenue or total consumer outlay is positive. No, sorry, negative. The relationship is negative, right? We have learned these things really well. Assume the demand for soft drinks is relatively elastic. Yes. So yeah, if the demand is price elastic, then change in price and change in total revenue, the relationship is negative. So take that knowledge into account. So if the supply increases, what will happen? If the supply increases, right? We have the demand, right? Relatively elastic demand. And we have, they don't say anything about the elasticity of supply. So we'll say something like this, supply. Then what happens is, so we have the price and the quantity. Supply increases. Supply increase. So if supply increases, the price will decrease. P1, P2, P1, price will decrease. If price decreases, if the product is elastic, the relationship between change in price and total revenue is negative, isn't it? So when price decreases, total revenue will increase. So answer that says increase in total revenue is what we are looking for. There's only one answer that correctly argues that actually increase in total revenue there. So that could be our answer key, increase in total revenue. Then decrease in price, that is also correct. We can see that in the diagram. So answer 1. We really don't have to go into the other answers because the first answer is very spot on, right? But if you want to, we can, or you can eliminate the other answers as well, right? If there's any confusion, you guys know, you can ask and clarify. I'm going to move on to question 5. Question 5, total expenditure on good X rises if its price falls. Total expenditure, in other words, TR, total revenue as well. So total expenditure on good X rises when the price falls. Again, we see a negative relationship. So basically, in terms of PED, elasticity is negative relationship between price and total revenue or total expenditure. Come on, we know this. Elastic. So definitely we can come to the conclusion based on this information, it should be elastic. So there are only two answers that say elastic. So all the other answers for PED can be eliminated. Elastic. Then, but decrease if income falls. Let's read this one more time. Total expenditure on good X rises if price falls, but decrease if income falls. So decrease if income falls. If income falls, the total expenditure decreases. If income falls, total expenditure decreases. So what does that mean? What kind of a product? What is the income demand relationship? What is the income demand relationship? What kind of a product are we talking about? We are talking about, so based on the income demand relationship, if the income and demand relationship is, if the income and demand relationship is positive, that is what we see here. Positive, what is the product with the product is definitely a normal good, right? So at least the relationship is that is what they're asking. No, positive, and we know it's actually a normal good. Okay, whether it's normal or what kind of a normal good would it be? That depends on the elasticity of income, elasticity of demand, and we can see it's elastic, so most probably a luxury good as well. Right. Anyway, correct answer should be number 2. Correct answer number 2. Okay, normal good number 2. Are we okay? If there's any questions, you guys can ask. So the different concepts we have learned right throughout, we are now bringing it into one place and answering these questions. Right. Then question 6. The following information gives details of the price of electricity. Price elasticity. What am I saying? Right. Details of the price elasticity of demand for certain goods and services, right? Demand for certain goods and services. So we have motor cars, motorcycles, cinema tickets, and matchboxes. Apart from the last one, you know, for all of this, it's basically minus 1.5, minus 1, minus 0.4, right? Right. Okay. So an increase in the price of each item by 1% would result in an increase in sales revenue in the case of increase in price 1% results in a, so price increases, sales revenue meaning total revenue to increase. So that means the relationship between change in price and total revenue is to be positive. Increase. If the relationship between change in price and total revenue is positive, what is the product we are looking at? I mean, what is the elasticity we are looking at? Sorry. If the delta P and delta TR relationship is positive, what is the product we are looking at? The elasticity? What kind of velocity are we looking at? Inelastic. Very good. All of you should be able to comment on that. Isn't it, Buddha? Inelastic. We are looking for a product that is inelastic. Okay, right. So inelastic meaning PED coefficient should be less than 1. Are we okay? If any of you guys are confused, you need to clarify. Okay, now then and there, because once we go to the next questions, when we have to come back, it's not very efficient. Okay, right. Inelastic. So inelastic meaning PED should be less than 1. How many products here have inelastic? Now we know in this area, in terms of the relationship between change in price and change in total revenue or consumer expenditure area, inelastic and perfect inelastic go together. Inelastic and perfectly inelastic go together. So we know that both cinema tickets right? And basically matchboxes are inelastic. Okay, matchboxes are perfect inelastic. Both are inelastic. Correct answer is then basically cinema tickets and matchboxes only. Yeah, number 3. Number 3. Okay, correct answer should be number 3. It cannot be number 4 because even matchboxes revenue will increase. Revenue will increase. Okay, right. Question 7. A consumer survey says that 20% increase in the price of cigarettes would reduce consumption of cigarettes by the rich 3%, only 3%. So the rich have an inelastic demand for cigarettes. Inelastic demand for cigarettes. Why? Percentage change in quantity demanded is 3%. Percentage change in price is 20%. Yes. So inelastic. The rich have an inelastic demand. And consumption of poor by 10%. Who also have an inelastic demand. Because again, price is changing by 20%. The poor, the demand for cigarettes is only decreasing by 10%. Again, inelastic. It can be deduced or deducted from this information is that the rich enjoy cigarettes more than the poor. On what basis can we say that? We don't have utility information, and also we don't have right. Also we don't have right. First thing is we don't have utility information, and also we don't know because both products have inelastic demand, so we can't say that. Number 2, for the rich, cigarettes are an inferior good. Again, not sufficient information is available to comment on the inferior or normal status of the good. Okay, because we are not given YED information. For the poor, cigarettes are normal good. Again, difficult to comment. We don't know because YED information is not given. Right? We can't say that for the poor, cigarettes are normal good because even inferior goods, when price changes, demand will change according to law of demand. Get it? Right. So, and for the rich and the poor, both, it's an inferior good. It's inelastic demand. So we can't say only for the poor, or for the poor it's a normal good, right? The demand of the poor is price elastic, while that of the rich is price inelastic. That is wrong. Both demand, the poor and the rich, have inelastic demand, because when price changes by 20%, rich decrease demand by only 3%, poor decrease demand by only 10%. Either way, 3% as well as 10% is less than 20. So inelastic. Inelastic. Demand is price inelastic for both rich and the poor. That should be the only correct answer we can agree with. Correct option we can agree with. If I wanted to, I could have also given instead of the last option as the correct answer. If I had said the demand of the rich is relatively inelastic to the poor, you will have to agree, because both are inelastic. Rich and the poor both have inelastic demand for cigarettes, but rich have more inelastic demand than the poor. So relatively we can compare and say that. Okay, right. Or we can say the demand of the poor is elastic relative to the demand of the rich. Get it? Compared to the rich, the poor have an elastic demand. Compared to the poor, the rich have an inelastic demand. Right? But both are inelastic. Correct answer number 5. Number 8. The diagram shows a market supply curve of a commodity. Market supply curve of a commodity. Which statement correctly describes the price elasticity of supply along this curve? So you can clearly see, first and foremost, all of you should be able to figure this out. This is an elastic supply curve. Did it click when you looked at this supply curve that it is an elastic supply curve? It has to. Okay, you need to work on that. How come? Because it will eventually intersect, right? It will eventually intersect the quantity axis on the negative side. It has minus A interception, or interception of A is negative. So this is definitely a elastic supply curve. Elastic supply curve. What do we know about elastic supply curve? Especially when we look at price elasticity of supply along the supply curve. What do we know? The knowledge you have. As price and quantity increases, as you go upwards along the curve, important to say that, upwards along the curve, the PES value, coefficient, keeps decreasing. If it's always more than one elastic, right? If this is 4, this becomes 3.75, this becomes 3.50. So as we go upwards, the PES coefficient value keeps decreasing. The same in reverse means what? If you keep going downwards, the PES coefficient keeps increasing. Keep that knowledge in mind, right? It is constant, wrong. It is not constant. The value keeps changing, right? It is constant, no, wrong. The value keeps changing. It is greater than unity, yes, and diminishes, good, as quantity decreases. Diminishes as quantity decreases. But if we go the other way, right? Now I have some values given for you guys, right? I'll write the values a bit clearly. I'm saying, if assume the PES is 4 here, 3.75 here, 3.50 here, okay? At these points. Now, as long as we go upwards, you can see the values are decreasing. Coefficient values are decreasing. But the statement, the third option says we are going downwards. If we go downwards, what should happen? If we go downwards along the curve, when quantity and price decreases, basically the values don't diminish, the values increase. Here it says values decrease. So this is wrong. Okay. It is greater than unity. Okay. Yes, it is greater than unity. Elastic increases as quantity decreases. Increases as quantity decreases. Yes, we have to agree. Why? As we quantity decreasing, meaning we are going downwards. As we go downwards, 3.50 to 3.75 to 3.4. So the yes, the coefficient is increasing. Number 4 is correct. Right? Number 4 is correct. Right? Negative and no, that's out. So correct answer number 4. Think about it. Yes, you need to have the knowledge, but you need to apply it according to the situation or the question. I hope you guys are clear. Any clarifications thus far up to this point? No? Okay. Question 9. A market is defined as being in, I don't know why there's an additional N. We're not talking, equilibrium is not a in, right? A market is defined as being in equilibrium when is a market in equilibrium? There is a maximum output and minimum cost? No. That can be justified as productive efficiency, not equilibrium. The producer surplus is maximized. You can't say that, right? Producer surplus can increase at higher prices. Prices are at their lowest possible level. Equilibrium is not the maximum or minimum of anything. Equilibrium is not the maximum or minimum of anything. Consumer satisfaction is maximized. As I said, equilibrium is not the maximum or minimum of anything. Okay? Right. There is no tendency for the market price to change. There we go. The conceptual technical meaning of the word equilibrium. Remember, state of rest. That is what is being tested here. Basic idea. Because we adjust tending towards equilibrium. We are at equilibrium, meaning there is no tendency for change. Okay? Correct answer number 5. Question 10. The demand for a particular normal good is inversely related to price, while its supply is positively related to price. Okay. During a given period, 5,000 units are sold at the price of 50. Okay. Visit price of rupees 50. I think I made a typo there. 50 a unit. Okay. 50 unit. Okay, unit. And during a later period, another period, 8,000 units are sold at a price of rupees 60 per unit. At a price of rupees 60 per unit. 8,000 are sold at a price of 60 per unit. 8,000 are sold at a price of 60 per unit, right? Which one of the following could account for this change? Whatever has happened here. Okay. For that, can we or shall we, can you guys try to represent this or show this situation using a equilibrium diagram, market diagram? Can you just take about 1 minute and try that? Try to come up with a market equilibrium diagram for this scenario, this situation. See how you can explain it. Okay, so some of you have commented on a possible reason for this to happen. I'm sure it would have been easier for you to come to that conclusion if you have drawn the equilibrium diagram. So if I am to give it a try, right, based on what is being said here, so we have basically a downward sloping demand curve, right, linear one, and an upward sloping supply curve, right? Basically, that's what they're saying. Then, initially there is a inverse relation, right? Okay, during a given period, 5,000 units are sold. Yeah, 5,000 units are sold. 5,000 units are sold at a price of how much for the 50 rupees, at a price of 50 rupees. Then what has happened is 8,000 later on, 8,000 units are sold. So from 5,000, we have to go to 8,000, right? So quantity has to increase and the price has to increase as well from 50 to 60. The only way we have now, if I mark 5,000 and 8,000 on this diagram, 5,000, if I mark 8,000 units and price of 60, it will basically be a point moving upwards along the supply curve. If there's a point moving upwards along the supply curve, or if both equilibrium price and quantity are increasing, Buddha, that's basically the demand curve shifting. And the demand curve should be shifting to the right. There has to be a rightward shift of the, we'll try that again. There has to be a rightward shift of the demand curve or outward shift of the demand curve, something like this, right? And as a result, you will see the price increases to 60. We can explain it that way. And the quantity becomes 8,000. Get it? So we can justify it that way. So essentially, we are looking at a situation where market demand seems to have increased for this product. Market demand seems to have increased for the product. So where can we find a reason that would result in an increase in demand? Where can we find a reason that will result in an increase in demand out of the options given? An increase in the price of complementary goods, negative relationship, demand will decrease. Can't be correct. An increase in the price of substitutes, yes, positive relationship, demand will increase. Demand will increase. Number 3, imposition of a sales tax on the good, no, supply will decrease. An increase in the productivity of it says liquids, I don't know what that is. Productivity of, I wanted to say labor, sorry for that. Productivity of labor, supply will increase, right? Then the price will decrease. An increase in the, my God. Increase in the price of raw materials, right? Price of raw material. Anyway, but it's connected with supply, and supply will decrease. Again, price will increase, but quantity will decrease. So correct answer number 2. Correct answer number 2. Okay. Right. Correct answer is number 2. Okay. Then question 11, 12 are based on some information given here. So, right. It says, assume the demand function for bus travel. Demand function for bus travel is QD equals 100 minus 2P. 100 minus 2P. And the market rate of, bus fare, the price is rupees 20 per passenger for any number of journeys. Number of journeys doesn't matter. 20, right? Subsequently, if the price falls to rupees 10, after the government provides a subsidy to the bus operators, okay, supply increases and the price falls. Subsidy will increase supply, and as a result, the market price has fallen from 20 rupees to 10 rupees. Yeah. Estimate the following. Okay. Estimate the following. Total consumer utility and total consumer outlay, okay, both after price fall respectively in that order. Okay. TCU and TCO in that order. Right. Now, again, I think an easy way to do these estimations and do them accurately would be to have a diagram. So we'll have a basic demand curve diagram and get this done, right? Okay, basic demand curve diagram, and we'll work on this. So we have price, 0, quantity, right? And the demand curve, if I draw it this way, I will have the demand curve. This would be based on the demand equation, right? What was the demand equation? QD equals 100 minus 2P. So easily you guys can figure out this is 100, right? A divided by B, we can get the maximum demand price or the price here. Yes, how do we get it? A divided by B. So QD equals A minus BP. A is 100. So A divided by B. So that would be 100 divided by 2. I'm just trying to explain this to you. So 50. Basic stuff, no, but we are very good at this now. So 50. Now we have the basic idea, and then it says price is 20 rupees initially, right? Price is 20 rupees, 20, and proportionately it's not very correct, but anyway, 20, and then the number of journeys, right? Number of journeys, okay. How do we find the number of journeys? Simple. Use the demand equation. Okay. Use the demand equation. The demand equation is QD equals 100 minus 2P. Apply the price of 20, please. 100 minus 2 into 20. We are trying to find the quantity demanded when the price is 20. So 20 is 40. 100 minus 40, that would be 60. 60. So we have 60 here. 60 there. Okay. Right. Now what are they asking? Sorry, what are they saying then? Supply increases because of a subsidy. As supply increases, so we don't need to draw the supply curve, but we are clear on what is happening. So supply increases, as expected price will decrease, quantity will increase. So now the price becomes 10 rupees. Price becomes 10 rupees. Price has decreased. Okay. At 10 rupees, how much is the quantity demanded? Same thing apply to the demand equation, please. I'm not going to do the calculation, but can you do that? Apply 10 rupees to the demand equation and get me the quantity. What is the quantity? If you apply 10 rupees to the demand equation, what is the quantity? The only way I know you guys are doing this with me is if you answer the question. What is the quantity? No, there are more of you guys who can answer. What is the quantity at the price of 10? Number of rides is how much? Apply 10 rupees to the demand equation. It's your discussion. Don't wait for someone else to answer on behalf of you. Right? Okay, for many people, for many things in life, Putha, don't wait for someone else to do the things you are supposed to do. Okay, that will become a very problematic situation in for certain things, right? There are certain things you are supposed to do, not others on behalf of you, right? So, how much? 80. Excellent. What is the requirement? Total consumer utility. Total consumer utility. Total consumer utility is the area below the demand curve up to the quantity bought. The quantity bought now is 80 at the price of 10. Get it? So the area of total utility, I'll use the purple color marker. The area of total utility is this entire trapezium. This entire purple color trapezium. How do you estimate the value? How do you estimate the value? Two vertical sides, 0 to 50. So 50 plus, okay, 50 plus 50 plus, then the next distance is 0 to 10. 10, 50 plus 10, half it, multiplied by the perpendicular, vertical, the horizontal distance, 0 to 80, multiplied by 80. How much do we get when you solve this? How much do you get when you solve this? Hmm? 2,400, yes. The calculation, Putta, there is a small, okay, fine. 2,400, right? So 2,400 is total consumer utility. How many answers give 2,400 first? Only 2 answers. So the other answers you can easily eliminate. Only 2 answers give 2,400 first. Right. No. Here what they are saying is number of passengers, not the number of rides. Even I think I said it as number of rides earlier, but these 60, 80, 100 are not the number of rides for the rides, it's a number of passengers. So they are not charging for the number of rides, they are charging for the number of passengers. I hope I have clarified the question that you asked. Is it clear? Right. So how to calculate consumer utility? The equation. We don't really look at an equation per se, Buddha. What we do is we look at an area, and that area we estimate depending on the shape. Here it's a generally total utility is a trapezium-like shape, and area is area below the demand curve up to the quantity consumers by. Consumers by 80, right? Or in this case, the number of consumers are 80, so you go up to 80. Is that clear? Understood? Right. Okay. Then next part is the total consumer outlay. That's easy. I'll use another color to contrast with this so that you guys will see it properly. Green, right. Now, so the purple and green area that I'm about to shade would be the expenditure. We buy at 10, there are 80 consumers. So this is the expenditure. The purple and green rectangular is the expenditure. Can you estimate the value? Basically, it's 10 into 80. So 10 into 80 expenditure, 10 into 80, that would be 800. So what is the answer that says 2,400 and 800? The first answer. Correct answer is number 1. Correct answer is number 1. Okay? Right. Then next part of the next question, but based on the same information. Consumer, okay? Consumer surplus for the initial passengers and marginal surplus. I'll just clear this a bit so that we can see, right? Marginal surplus of the additional passengers, both after price falls. Both after price falls. How do we estimate? We'll try to clear this a bit. Both after price falls. Okay. Both after price falls. Now let's figure this out. What are they asking us to estimate? The consumer surplus, initial passengers. For the initial passengers, consumer surplus, we can estimate. Because initially we had only 60 passengers, but one catch here is you have to consider the price as 10 though, because they say I'm asking you to estimate after the price fall, but for the initial passengers. So the area you are trying to estimate first is the consumer surplus of the initial passengers after the price fall is this. Area below the demand curve, we are trying to estimate the value of this trapezium. Okay. How do you estimate the value of this trapezium? Can you give me the answer? 50. This height would be 50 minus 10, that's 40. Okay. And then 20 minus 10, that's 10. Okay. Estimate with me the value of the red colored shaded trapezium divided by 2 multiplied by perpendicular distance would be 0 to 60 multiplied by 60. How much do you get here, Bata? As the consumer surplus for the initial passengers, how much do we get? Yeah, 1500, correct. 1500. How many answers say 1500? 2 answers. Others can be eliminated. Okay, other answers are incorrect, can be eliminated. Right. Then the next part is marginal consumer surplus. Marginal consumer surplus of the additional passengers. What is the area? The marginal would be now, if we take the full thing, it goes up to 80 passengers. So marginally, there are 20 more passengers. Because of these 20 passengers, they get a consumer surplus here. Or those 20 passengers have a surplus. The green color triangle. What is the value of the green color triangle? The value of the green color triangle would be, the objective of these papers is also to get you to apply your knowledge and think of it. They're not going to be just very straightforward also with most of the questions, right? So that's the whole point. That is the part where we practice. If you only practice with the easiest things, where you don't have to apply yourself and exhaust yourself, in the real situation, it will be difficult for you, right? Basic logic, no? Right. So the green color triangle, what is the value? 20 minus 10 multiplied by it's 80 minus 60, right? Multiplied by 80 minus 60, so that's 20. This entire thing divided by 2. Can you solve this? Yeah, how much would that be? Is it 100? Should be, no? Yes or no? We get 10 into 200, that's 200, divided by 2 is 100, yeah. So we get 100. Correct answer is then answer 1 again. Right? If it did not like that, okay, revisit. After this, revisit the question. Start fresh. Read it properly. Think about it. Figure it out. Don't let it go. And don't skip. Don't let it go. Figure it out. So for initial consumer surplus, why did we take 40? Why did we take 40? That is the vertical distance between 10 to 50, no, Gota? 50 minus 10, because I need the 2 vertical sides, add them, half them, then multiply by perpendicular. That is the formula I'm working with. Is it clear or not? One vertical side is, I can't take 50, no, then it's from 0. It's from 10. I have to take. Okay? I think you are clear. Right. Okay. Then question 13. Assume the traditional market demand curve for good X is downward sloping from left to right, a movement from point A to B downwards along the curve would most likely be caused by, without small things, right? When they say you're moving along, right? Moving along. If they say moving along, they will say whatever the curve or function. If they say moving along the supply function, that means what is changing is demand. If they say we are moving along the, okay, if we are moving along supply curve, what is changing is demand. If we are moving along the demand curve, that means what is changing is supply. Small things. I'm talking about equilibrium diagram here. Think about what I just said. So in this question, they are talking about downwards movement along the which curve? Demand curve. So what will explain a downwards movement along a demand curve? A downwards movement along a demand curve will be explained with a shift of the supply curve. Shift of the supply curve. So another way I can present this summary for you is this actually. Hold on. Movement along shift of, get it? Movement along supply කියන්නේ shift of demand. Movement along demand කියන්නේ shift of supply. That is what is happening. Small things. This is what we do in the MCQ toolbox session. Give you these small tools in a summarized, organized way, easy to put in your head. Got it? I'll show you a small part of that material also, one of the glimpse of the toolbox materials that we're hoping to start in August, right? Right, so the correct answer, now if you visualize this, you understand what is happening, right? To move downwards meaning supply curve has to shift to the right, right? We are looking at a demand curve and a point is moving downwards meaning supply is shifting to the right from S to S1. That is what we'll explain if this is demand. So what will create a rightward shift in supply, increase in supply. An increase in the price of good Y, a substitute good, that will affect demand, not supply. And demand curve, it's a movement of a point. Then it's changing price, not other factors out. An increase in consumer income, no, it will change demand. We are not looking for a shift in demand. A decrease in consumer income, demand. A decrease in production cost, yes, supply will increase. Supply will increase. That's what we are looking for. Increase in supply, rightward shift in supply should be correct. Number 5, decrease in the supply of the good, no. Then the price movement will be upwards along the demand curve, not downwards. Correct answer number 4. Think, apply, you will figure it out. Okay, be confident, but do the work. Question 14. Suppose the market for coconut is currently in equilibrium. Okay, market for coconut is currently in equilibrium. If the supply of coconuts decrease, while the same time the demand for coconuts increase, what can you say about the price and quantity of coconuts in the market? So demand is decreasing. Sorry, supply is decreasing. I'll just take the summary out of it. Change in supply is if the supply of coconuts decrease. So decrease, meaning you have to create a leftwards shift, and change in demand is demand for coconuts increase. Demand for coconuts increase. You have to create a rightward shift. Right. Can you guys draw a diagram, a sketch very quickly? Okay, and just see what you can come up with. Now, a problem you might have is, just to make this clear, why don't you guys keep the proportion, the distance between the two demand curves, distance between the two supply curves, try to keep it similar and do this. Come back to me quickly with an answer, or what you see at least in your equilibrium diagram. Start with original equilibrium, then shift the demand and supply curves accordingly. Try to keep the proportions the same, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, I'm getting a response. Price increase, change in quantities. Okay, very good. Not sure, no? So when you drew this, what would you have come up with? What kind of a diagram would appear? Right? We have demand, we have supply, equilibrium, price, quantity. Okay, then it says supply decreases, so create a leftward shift in supply, right? S1, decrease in supply, and demand increases, rightward shift in demand. Now, if I do it in the same proportion, and if I do it exact same proportion, what will happen is price S1 D1 here, new equilibrium is here. So I will have a higher price. P1 will say P2. Price will definitely increase, but quantity demanded, if I keep the proportions the same, sorry, the equilibrium quantity doesn't change. Equilibrium quantity doesn't change. But if demand or supply increases more or decreases less, changes more or less than the other, then quantity might also change. So that is the ambiguity. Difficult to determine problem is that quantity. We don't know. Quantity could increase, quantity could decrease. It depends on whether the changes are equal proportion or not. Get it? They don't say anything about whether demand, in this question, I am not saying anything about whether demand and supply are changing in equal proportion or not. Okay? So, the correct answer in this case would be, the only answer we can agree with is actually number 2. Ambiguous meaning, simple language, not sure. We are not sure. It's not clear. Ambiguous, not clear, not sure. Right? I will quickly share something with you guys just to give you a bit of an idea and perhaps some confidence, right, about the MCQ Toolbox workshop we will be starting series. Now here is just a summary of how the equilibrium changes. Factors causing shift of market demand and supply, that's where we start. In other words, that is leading to change in market equilibrium. First, I'll cover demand side, general causes. Then we cover the supply side. So we summarize everything and make it easy to remember. These are tools that we can use. Okay. Then change in market equilibrium when only one market force is changing. Okay. So if demand increases, decreases, supply increases, decreases, always the other market force remains constant. Other market force remains constant. That's pretty easy to remember. Very easy to remember. We'll look at the relationships and we will learn. We've already learned in the revision a bit, right? The tools will really help, right? Then comes the complications. One is simultaneous change in both market forces. different proportions. If they change in different proportions, what will happen? So the situation we saw here is also there. What is the situation we saw? Demand increase, supply decrease. So supply decrease, demand increase. Okay? Demand increase. So here, supply decrease. So this is the situation we saw. When you go through the toolbox sessions, when you go through all the tools with that, you go and sit for the exam with this knowledge. So immediately when you see it, you quickly recall, right, okay, in this situation, we have learned, I know the tool, what is that? Price increases, but change in quantity is indeterminate, or we said ambiguous. Get it? Same thing. Are we clear? Right. This is what we do in the toolbox sessions. These kinds of very useful things I share with you, which takes a lot of effort and time and analysis to summarize, but they make your life easy when you go to the exam, right? So instead of one by one trying to eliminate, analyze, and go through a big process to answer a question, when you have the tools, things can be done easily. Right tool for the right job. That's the simple thing about the toolbox sessions. Get it? Right. If they change in equal proportions, that also we have covered. So all possible angles we look at in these very comprehensive tools that I share with you guys in the toolbox session. Right. On that note, so let's move on. Correct answer is number 2 for question 14. Question 15. What is necessary for consumer surplus to be 0? Right. Again, something we talk about and we learn in the toolbox sessions. And in the revision classes also talked about this. Correct answers for the demand is to be perfectly elastic. If demand is perfectly elastic, right, we say basically, sorry, I should draw the supply curve. We say basically consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve up to the price consumers pay. Now, the price consumers pay and the equilibrium price and the price where the demand curve is created all are the same. So where is the consumer surplus? This area I am shading with the green color marker, is it consumer surplus or producer surplus? It is producer surplus. There is no consumer surplus because there is no area below the demand curve before the equilibrium price, because the demand curve itself is forming the equilibrium price. Right? You guys are seeing still the toolbox, no? Yeah, sorry. Now, how are we doing? Can you see the diagram I have drawn with the green color shaded area? Good for you guys. Right. Thank you for pointing that out. Right. But here, perfectly elastic demand, normal supply. Consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve up to the price consumers pay. So area below the demand curve and the price, everything is the same because the demand curve itself forms the price if the demand is perfectly elastic. So no consumer surplus. Right. Again, there's a tool we learn for this in a very summarized way to remember all this. Okay. Right. Correct answer is 15. I'm going to run through the answers one time. So please make a note if you did not or if you missed anything. Okay. Question 1, answer 1. Question 2, answer 3. Question 3, answer 2. Question 4, answer 1. Question 5, answer 2. Question 6, answer 3. Question 7, answer 5. Question 8, answer 4. Question 9, answer 5. Question 10, answer 2. Question 11, answer 1. Question 12, answer 1. Question 13, answer 4. Question 14, answer 2. And question 15, answer 1. Right. Now we go to the second part of the paper, part B. Right. We do a very brief outlining of it. Right. So let's see. suggested answer material. Right. Question 1, I focused on the basics of demand supply. Briefly distinguish between normal, inferior and given goods. 1 mark each, 3 marks. So I'm expecting a very to the point, on the point description. But I have added alternative answers, and I'm also expecting you guys now to talk about, okay, if possible, price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand connected to these goods also much as possible, right? Because that will show knowledge and it doesn't take a lot of time to include them in your answer. But the basic bare minimum answer expected I have given here to allocate the marks. Then part B, there is no cause and effect based distinction between an expansion or contraction of demand and increase or decrease in demand. Do you agree? Explain briefly. You can't agree with that because there's a very clear difference between when we say expansion, contraction of demand and increase or decrease in demand. Even though the word demand is there, expansion, contraction is about increase in quantity demanded and decrease in quantity demanded, whereas increase or decrease in demand is about a demand curve shifting to the left or the right, shift of demand. So I've explained that situation very clearly. You guys can go through the answer. I'm sure you will, number one, understand what is the argument I'm making. And number two, you will be having the confidence to do something or basically write or compose an answer, build an answer similar to what I have written. Because we are training ourselves, and you guys, whether you realize it or not, your answer writing skills are slowly but surely, step by step improving, and you will know how to build an argument for a question like this. What I'm doing with my suggested answer is merely giving you or pointing you in the right direction and giving you some inputs on, some food for thought on things you can add. But you guys are gradually, have the confidence, you guys are, whether you realize it or not, are developing the ability to write very well composed answers. Okay, right. Then C, briefly explain the relationship between price of related products and supply of a given product. Again, a very complete answer I have given. If you read through it step by step, you will see how I have built an argument and how I explained the concept as well. Okay, again, you guys will be able to do something similar, or I am confident something even better with practice, which you guys are gradually developing that skill. Then, okay, right. Then, right. Question 2, why, so it's on elasticity now. Why is downward sloping linear demand curve more price elastic at high price range and more price inelastic at a lower price range? A classic, very common question, but still there is certain weaknesses, limitations shown by students when they present answers. So I'm suggesting an answer here, and I want you to go through it and see if there's anything you can add to the answer you wrote to this for this question. Get it? Right. Perfect your answer with this. Right. These are additional. I'm not expecting you to draw a demand curve and explain this, right? But for knowledge I have given. Briefly distinguish between price elasticity of demand and cross elasticity of demand. So I really want you guys to use this format of defining PED, XED, because it's basically a 2-mark question and 1 mark each. I haven't described the formula verbally, but you can describe the formula verbally also if it's a question that is giving you about 4 marks to distinguish between price elasticity of demand and cross price elasticity of demand. Okay. Then this is a value addition. I'm trying to give a paragraph to explain the specific difference between PED and CPED or cross price elasticity of demand. Again, if you are given a question on the same area, but for more marks than 2 marks, maybe 3 or 4 marks, I would even include this paragraph in the answer. I would include the paragraph in the answer. Briefly outline the factors influencing price elasticity. Briefly outline the factors influencing price elasticity. I have said outline price elasticity of supply, outline. So therefore, if you have just stated the point, you get out of the 4 marks, maximum 2 marks. If you have explained or not explained, actually it's outlining, say when it becomes elastic, when it becomes inelastic, you can see that in the answer, then you get 4 marks if you have done that also. Question 3 focused on equilibrium and economic surpluses. It's a very straightforward calculation based question. I don't see a major issue with it. When we do the PED, PES, I want to see the workings. I want to see that you have figured out the format of the equation is where you can use the B component directly as the slope in the calculation. And I want to see you have used point PED and point PES. Percentage formula doesn't work. Right. So that's basically the outlining of the part B answers. Very comprehensive answers are given. You guys need to go through and add them to your overall knowledge. With that, we conclude our discussion on the fifth paper we discussed. You guys attempted and we completely discussed with a proper suggested answer material. So that brings us to the end of season 1 of our special paper practice series. Season 2 will begin after a small break. Okay, so I'll see you guys in your respective classes until such time in the future. Right, all the best.